Hey y'all, hope you're doing well. I've been reading in Jeremiah for the past a long time. There's a lot of chapters there. There's a lot of long chapters there. And I'm kind of getting towards the end of Jeremiah, and God just showed me something that I wanted to share with y'all. So the last several chapters of Jeremiah are just these prophecies of judgment on all these different nations, all these different nations who have been enemies to Israel, who have, fought the people of God, who have destroyed them or put them in captivity. And there's all this sin and all this stuff going on. And so it's kind of just sad and depressing and just very heavy. Um, but as I was reading through that, I got to chapter 48, which talks about Moab. And the last verse says, after all this judgment, all this stuff is going on, it says, "Yet I will restore the fortunes of Moab in the latter days, declares the Lord." And I was like, the fortunes of Moab? What does that even mean? So I had to go look it up because I'm not a historian. That's not something I remember. But the Moabites are the descendants of Lot, Abraham's nephew Lot. And so what God's talking about here is not only were the Moabites at one point, a part of Abraham's descendants, God's made all these blessings, all these promises to the descendants of Abraham. Also, through the line of Moab comes Ruth, and through the line of Ruth comes Jesus. So what we see is that, number one, there's consequence for sin. Okay, there's consequence, and there's judgment, and there's wrath. Even in the time of grace that we're living in, we can't just sin and think we can do whatever we want and there's not a consequence. There's always a consequence for our sin. I mean, Romans tells us the wages of sin is death, right? But even in that, at the very end of that, God is in the restoration business. So even against these people who were horrible to God's people, these people who worshiped all these idols, caused all these wars, all this, God is in the business of bringing those people back to himself. So we see that God restores the fortunes of Moab because from the line of Ruth, we get Jesus and we get the sacrifice for our sins and we get the reconciliation to God. So no matter what you're going through, no matter what things you've been a recipient of, the sin of your forefathers or the generational stuff, God is in the restoration business, and he even wants to restore and to bring back those people who have been so against him because he loves us. So restoration means there's hope, and God is still working and still completing his promises in our lives. Love you guys.